Hey everyone, welcome to the NFL edition of the Daily Fantasy Flex podcast for January 25th, 2017, brought to you by FantasyLabs. I'm Matthew Freedman, the editor-in-chief. I'm joined by podcast regulars Adam Levitan and Peter Jennings on Twitter at Adam Levitan, NCSURAM88. And also joining us for the final show of the season is the long-lost fourth musketeer, FantasyLabs co-founder and all-around go-getter Jonathan Bales at Bales Football. Jonathan Bales, if I may, you were on the first show of the season and now the last. What have you been up to since September?
Not much. Haven't been doing anything really. No, I've been. This is like the first time for me doing sort of behind the scenes stuff. I've always been writing a bunch and been out there a bit more. So it's been unique for me, but definitely fun. And I thought we had a good NFL season for sure.
Yeah, I think it was a really good NFL season. How were the conference championships for you last week?
It was good. The entire playoffs were good, which hasn't historically been the case for me. So probably a good amount of variance in those, but I got lucky, I guess, the past couple weeks and had some good lineups.
Levitan and Pete, how were the conference championships for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I went with just plug in Matty Ice and hope for the best, and it was kind of hard to go wrong there. It was like the playoffs were like three of my best weeks of the whole year. And I think the season as a whole, like, I'm not sure that the win rates that people who are really paying attention, and I think people that were on like the quote unquote right plays all year, I'm not sure that the win rates are sustainable in the long term in NFL, because like this was just a total smash NFL season. And Peter can probably talk more about that than I can. But I think that it's somewhat of an outlier, but it was still just an unbelievable NFL season, and playoffs were just on top of it. Like, we didn't have like sharp plays like breaking their leg in the first quarter. Like, we didn't have a lot of really bad weeks for what we thought were sharp plays. So felt like an outlier, but in a good way.
Yeah, definitely an outlier. The playoffs were the best playoffs we've ever had. Talking to a lot of guys who do this for a living, they all had unbelievable football seasons. It was my best football season in 5 years. So I really think Adam hit the nail on the head. I don't think it's sustainable, but certainly this year was nice to be on the right side of injury variance. And the playoffs were fantastic. I mean, Christmas Eve was brutal for me, but since then it's just been unreal. And I think we were really fortunate to get pretty obvious spots. I mean, if you just even took guys where the totals were really high most of the year this year, you were probably in really good shape. So great NFL season, certainly excited for next year, but yeah, I don't know if it's going to be like it was this year. We ran so well. I mean, I was thinking back to last year, talking with a couple friends, and Jamal Charles, Le'Veon Bell, Julio Jones. I mean, a lot of really chalky, great plays ended up being bust because they got hurt. So I don't really remember like an awful injury. The one injury that was bad for me this year, I guess, was Tyler Lockett, but that was Christmas Eve, and that wasn't really a super chalk play. So I think for the most part, there weren't nearly as many landmines, and I think the professionals and sharps did pretty well this year.
Yeah, I think there was maybe 1 week, I can't remember which week it was, where it was like running back Armageddon, and like the chalk was totally broken. Lots of people got injured, but that was just 1 week. If all you have is one really bad week, that's not too bad for an NFL season.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, that I think was when he went down, but that was also the day Le'Veon Bell scored like 55 fantasy points. So I don't know. It was a fortunate year in terms of injuries, I think, overall.
Yeah. Now, Bales, I see you have a very lush background right there. It looks like you are in Tennessee. You're at the Fantasy Sports Trade Association Winter Conference. How's that going? Give us the scuttlebutt. What's new in the industry?
It's good. It's great. It's fun to hang out with the guys. It's interesting, I guess, to see sort of the evolution of fantasy. And I haven't been coming to these for too long, but even a couple years ago, and from what I've heard from other guys, it was always so focused on season long, and DFS was sort of an afterthought or almost a joke, I guess, in the beginning. And now DFS it completely revolves around it. So that's interesting. I think that the clarity that we have with DFS now, more so than last year, is it was definitely a theme of the conference. And it's just something I think is really valuable, just to be able to sort of put faces to people's names. And most of us work from home or behind a computer all day, so it's good to be able to come out and talk to the guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, kind of on that note, we all work from home behind computers all days, but we are soon going to be seeing each other. There's the FantasyLabs company retreat. Now, one thing that we're going to be doing at that is something I'm calling the Old Man's Junior Varsity Olympics, in which a lot of us, and by us, I mean not me, but other people, are going to be I don't know, participating in various feats of strength. If you may, Bales, can you talk about what all of this entails? Like, what are you going to be doing, and if any wagers have been made on this action?
Yeah, so us three, Peter, Levitan, and I, have some bets that we made for some
Skill game props.
Skill game props. Yeah, and so I guess the three of us are doing pull-ups, bench press, and playing racquetball. And or we were supposed to anyway. I did suffer the first injury of the training last week, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do the strength stuff. I think I'm gonna be able to do the pull-ups, maybe not the bench. And then Levitan and I are doing a mile run, and then a jumping exercise, jumping over a bench, like a bench press as many times as we can in 2 minutes. So all of them are blind, like we're just betting against each other, not knowing what the others can do, except for the pull-ups and the bench press. We tested beforehand and sort of like adjusted it.
Levitan, how is training going for you, and what are your thoughts on how all of this is going to go?
Yeah, so like people think like we're just degens and like this is just like some stupid thing. Like it's really like it's pathetic, but the only thing that really motivates me these days is like money, and like a significant amount of money. So I haven't worked out since 1999, not exaggerating. 1999 is the last time I've worked out. Since I booked this bet, I have not missed a day of working out, and that shows like what like I guess I have a I don't want to say like it's just a bad personality trait, but that's what motivates me. So win or lose, like I've already won because I feel healthier. I changed my diet. I joined this ridiculous gym. Like I spent more on gym, parking at the gym. I have a trainer 3 times a week. I basically have to win all the bets to break even on everything I've spent on the trainer and the parking and the gym. But that said, I still feel amazing. If I lose, I'll still be happy. Like I feel just way better, and just like rekindling some of my youth where I was pretty athletic and pretty in shape. So it's been a really good thing for me. I'm glad we're doing it. It's not a degen thing. It's not as bad of a degen thing as everybody wants to make it out to be.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's not about that. It really is just like motivating, so that we force ourselves to work out, which we all wanted to do. So yeah, I think that prop bets in general are really good for that. If you put money on the line, or even making it public is a big part of it. I think that I like tweeted it out and things, and people know that's happening. We'll probably Periscope it when we're there and test, and I don't want to embarrass myself, so it's a motivating thing for sure.
Well, sure, you got skin in the game, but let's be honest, you guys want to win. Levitan, are you going to win the mile race?
Yeah, so Peter posted this poll where he asked, the general public who is going to win this race, and it was like 68-32 in favor of Bales. If there's anybody out there who wants to bet against me in the mile and give me plus 150 and they're willing to escrow, like I'll escrow any amount of money you want up to, I don't know. I don't want to get into figures on here. If you want to bet against me at plus 150, get in touch with me. If you're willing to escrow, I think plus 150 is a really bad line. I don't want to say I'm very confident because it's been so long since I've completed a mile or ran, but it's going well, and I'm trying.
I would like to point out real quick. It was like 70-30 or like 66-33 in between them, and then Adam tweeted out that this is an outrage, and it completely skewed the numbers. I mean, it got to 62-38. So the last, votes came in pretty strong towards Levitan after he he made some reference to Grubhub and something else pertaining to Bales with a tweet. But 62-38 on 21, a little over 2,100 votes. So pretty decent sample there that people think Bales is going to win here. And I do think that's correlated with his contenders video where he's running like Rocky in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I will say that was the magic of editing, in that it was very much scripted. I don't think I had run like 1 mile before that. But I also will. I'll take Levitan plus 150 if anyone wants to too.
No, you can't. That is not true. Bales is working hard. Also, don't let him fool you. He's just trying to push the number down himself.
Yeah, and one last thing too pertaining to it, we also have with the racquetball is going to be very interesting. Much respect to Levitan for willing to play that straight up, and we also have basketball booked as well. Just getting back from the Achilles, I have to make 61% to win. 60% is a push, and 59% is a loss on 3-pointers, 5 spots around the arc for high school threes. So we have some other skill game props as well that should be fun in Orlando.
100 shots though. I think it's possible if you like rest it. I think your arm's going to get tired.
I rest. That's clarified.
But you can rest only between racks of 20, right?
Yeah, I shoot 20, rest, shoot 20, rest. I mean, I've done Levitan. I've gotten up like thousands of threes in the last.
No, I believe you.
Feeling confident. If you want more on that, we'll have to talk about it more.
Right. I'm impressed with your confidence in that.
What about? Do you think like it's gonna change when we're all watching you and the pressure's on?
Yeah, I think the pressure could be. Right now, I'm averaging around like 64.5%. So it's not like it's a slam dunk, and there is pressure. And I'm a really streaky shooter. Some racks will go 18 out of 20. Some racks will go, 8, 9 out of 20, which is really, really bad when you get cold. So with the pressure, certainly it seems relatively reasonable. But yeah, I like shooting. So we'll see what happens.
This is going to be an amazing trip. All right, let's talk some about the season that was. So Levitan and Pete, you guys had mentioned that this was a phenomenal season where a lot of the chalk played out, or a lot of the guys that we anticipated would do well in slates actually did well. What do we think that means moving forward for next season? Do you have ideas on how it is that people might I guess approach slates based on what it is, I guess the recency bias of what happened this year? Any thoughts on that? And I guess we'll start with Levitan.
Yeah, so I feel like we keep using the word chalk as like a negative, like, oh, you donkey, all you did was play the chalk and hit. Like, people think it's so easy to identify what the chalk is and play it. If it was that easy, everybody would be ripping off 20% ROI, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that lost who thought they were playing the chalk. So I don't want to use that as a negative. Like, I think it's hard a lot of weeks to come up with the right plays, whether it's chalk or not. So wanted to point that out. But in terms of going forward, yeah, I think the hashtag game theory crew lost a lot of steam during this NFL season. And I think Bales has pointed out, like, just because a guy is 70% doesn't mean that the game theory crew should be fading him. You know what I mean? Like Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. David Johnson for a long time was like 8K. Like I remember he was really cheap on DK for a while, and he was only 50, 60%. I think the game theory crew could have argued that he should have been 100% instead of being like, oh, he's 60%, I'm not playing him. I'm playing Le'Veon Bell, because he should be 100%, not 60. So I think more people will specifically go towards that construction of Le'Veon, David Johnson, and then figure out the rest later, especially earlier in the year. I expect DraftKings to come out with them right out of the gate at like 10K, which will make it difficult. But I do think that's what a lot of people lean towards early, because really that's what worked all year, like cheap quarterback, expensive pass-catching running back, and figure out the rest.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. That made it really easy across the industry to get a really high floor, and people just tried to outthink themselves and do that. So the backup running backs also hit relatively hard this year. Guys like Marcus Mariota and Kirk Cousins were really cheap with really good matchups. And, there's a variety of guys at the quarterback position that just made sense week to week. We had really easy funnel spots to look at that played out pretty well. And I'm not sure it's going to be like that next year. Again, injuries are the thing that normally throw off a really high ROI for football. And that's just inevitable. That's a brutal part about the game. But we were really fortunate this year that there are a lot of funnel spots. And I really think the staple of, jamming in Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, especially when they weren't really expensive, was a key to having success this year. So they won't be priced like they were this year. We'll have to probably make some big adjustments, and we'll see how things play out next year. But I certainly am not anticipating, the year we had this year.
Bales?
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think that the last time I was on the pod a few short months ago, one of the things I was talking about in terms of what I was changing about my strategy going into the year was thinking about like being contrarian in terms of an entire lineup. And I think when you do that, so most of like what Levitan's calling the game theory guys, I think like look at a player and they just consider his ownership and like how many points he's projected to score, what his value is, and then just determine if he's worth playing or not. But like the way that you win isn't by like it's not just these individual pieces, and that's all that matters. Is really the dynamic of the entire lineup, and you can create. Like game theory doesn't dictate that you fade chalk, and that was something that I found in the preseason, just doing some of my research on how I was going to attack the year. And so this year, luckily, I played like probably as much of the at least the top tier chalk as Peter, who is known for playing chalk, and I haven't been. I probably played that same percentage, and then was like very contrarian around that core. And so I think that was it was an outlier season, like they said. So like I think that I got a little bit lucky, but I think that is one of the main takeaways that I had, and I guess one of the ways that I got lucky. Just realizing that being contrarian isn't about just like trying to balance ownership and value at all times on individual players. It's really about just how you construct a lineup with the combination of those guys and the correlations, and really taking like almost an extreme approach where you're just playing the obvious values, playing the chalk, and then going sub 5%, sub 3% ownership on just a couple guys in the lineup, and you probably get an even better effect and a higher floor at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Bales, by the way, I think maybe on your end someone is tapping Morse code or something like that.
Yeah, there's some massive noise. It's something. It's all good.
I don't know what it is. All right, let me know if it happens again.
Okay. So, any other thoughts there? If you weren't distracted by the Morse code there, but
how loud was it?
It was
loud,
massive. Okay, let's talk about the bowl game slate, which I have to say, like, this actually might be the most exciting slate for me. I think like the entire season, it's like a combination of like the degeneracy of preseason with like the climax of the Super Bowl put together. It's just like a totally degenerate slate. But what are your thoughts on this? You have the Pro Bowl, which normally has a lot of high scoring, but it's really hard to determine playing time. The Super Bowl, which it looks like it could be a high scoring game, but traditionally can be low scoring, but you have lots of playing time there. What are you guys doing to kind of take all of this into account? Like, what are you thinking about this right now? And I think, Pete, let's probably start with you.
Well, first of all, you really just insulted Levitan massively there by comparing this slate to the preseason, which Levitan takes a ton of pride in. And I do think there's an immense amount of skill in the preseason, much more so than this garbage Pro Bowl game. I
love the preseason. The preseason's like amazing. Like it's
like degenerate, but it's also like probably one of the most skillful times of the entire NFL. So
the difference is you can't project Pro Bowl playing time, right? You can project preseason playing time. That's the biggest difference to me.
Right. Mm-hmm. So Pro Bowl is a total mess, but I on the degeneracy side of things, I am in the slate. I have 10Ks up, so if anyone wants to play, I am down to get in the ring. This slate looks pretty interesting. I mean, I haven't looked really too much into the Pro Bowl yet, other than Freedman pointing out that Tyreek Hill is 1,900, so I'm obviously locking him in a game where hopefully a fast guy can get a long touchdown. So I do think that there's a lot of value in figuring out a way to get the optimal plays in for the Super Bowl, because we do know all these guys are going to play the whole game. The total is right around 58 points, which is a historically high total for a Super Bowl. In general, most Super Bowls have really good defenses. That's normally a recipe to getting far in the NFL, is having a great defense. And the old adage that defense wins championships has come to fruition a lot, including last year with the Broncos. So now we have two prolific offenses. I think the Falcons defense in particular is not great. The Patriots defense was just really good in the red zone this year. And I think, now we're going to see how effective they can be against a really great offense, potentially one of the best offenses of all time. I mean, if the Falcons score, 40 points in this game, I think you could really make an argument that this is, potentially the greatest offense of all time. So I think the key here is going to be figuring out how to get the most exposure to that, and then identifying the guys who are going to play the most in the Pro Bowl. And I really don't have too much of an idea in that yet, but hopefully we'll get some tidbits. But it always seems tough to predict the Pro Bowl. That's the one thing that I find challenging. So maybe loading up on some of these high upside guys that are cheap makes sense. And then maybe the defense too. We were talking a little bit about that pre-show as well. But Adam, are you going to get involved in this slate? Are you starting to get interested?
I wasn't going to play the slate, but it's interesting. I do think if you were to find out who's going to have a lot of playing time in the Pro Bowl, you could have a really big edge. And it's crazy, like in terms of like getting volume in, like selling head-to-heads and selling three-mans and everything. I'm sure you can get more on this bowl slate than you could on a normal NBA night, which is crazy, but it's just like football is king in terms of getting action. So it could be worth at least exploring from that perspective.
Yeah, I think it is. Bales, what are your thoughts?
I love Peter saying that it was just like, there's so much skill in the preseason, and this is totally different. It's just degens. I have some 10Ks posted.
I'm admitting it's degeneracy. With the preseason, it's skill. Preseason, it's skill.
No, it is. It is different. I really don't know. I don't know that I have great insights. I guess the one thing I'd say is, even if it's completely random or unpredictable, I should say, in terms of like workload and who's going to get the ball in the Pro Bowl, it could still be beatable in tournaments if you're just like on the low end guys. So like if it's completely unpredictable and we think that everyone has the same chance of producing more or less, then in that case you truly would just want the lowest owned guys. So I don't know that is necessarily the case, but it probably does sort of trend that way where people will be on certain guys, probably the starters or probably the big stars, and maybe you play like, I don't know, Kirk Cousins or something is the play. Guys like that I guess are not the top tier stars might be the best plays just because their ownership is going to be low, and we're admitting that we don't know who's going to go off really. And then I guess the big decision also is, do I play the Super Bowl or the Pro Bowl? We can't predict the Pro Bowl really that well, but probably I think some players are going to have crazy stat lines, even if they're not on the field that much. So it's interesting in tournaments like which way you go, because the Super Bowl is going to be way more predictable. But and I think you're going that way, Peter. But I think you can make an argument that you're going to have to, if you wanted to win a GPP, you would have to find a couple guys in the Pro Bowl who go off, because they could just have like 203 or something.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at some stuff now too, just looking at historic scores for the Pro Bowl. And it is pretty ridiculous. Last year, 49-27, 32-28 for 2015. Then the really low scoring where Nick Foles and Derek Johnson were somehow the MVPs, 22-21 in 2013. But 2012, 62-35, 2011, 59-41. And looking through some of these MVPs, there's some total scrubs. Kyle Rudolph was the MVP in 2012. Nick Foles, like I mentioned. Brandon Marshall, 2011, I guess, is a reasonable one. One thing that really gets me excited for Tyreek Hill, D'Angelo Hall, the MVP of the 2010 Pro Bowl. So some nice correlation there to Tyreek, who I think is really interesting. But, there's definitely going to be more scoring. It just they spread it out so much. Everyone gets in the game. The quarterbacks play like a quarter and a half max. So, that's a challenge. You do have two receivers as like the coaches, I guess. So maybe receivers are better plays, but yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic here for sure. I'm not I don't have too much conviction on trying to predict the Pro Bowl.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the guys that we would maybe think about locking into lineups right now, and I'm imagining that's much more on the Super Bowl side than the Pro Bowl side. But yeah, I'm very bullish on Tyreek. But Pete, let's start with you. Who are you like right now? Who are you thinking about putting in your lineups?
Yeah, I mean, when I first look, I want to play Brady. I think over Matty Ice just because he's cheaper. Maybe I'll go up to Matty Ice. I'm still not 100% sure, but you're obviously locking in one of the quarterbacks. That's like the no-brainer move. And then really like Deion Lewis, like James White. Atlanta really struggled with running backs out of the backfield in the passing game. I do think it's going to be more of a Lewis-White game than a Blunt game. So definitely going to be looking to get one of those guys in. Julian Edelman's really expensive, but I definitely want exposure to him. He's going to play the whole game and certainly makes a lot of sense. So those are the guys I'm really interested in off the bat. Julio Jones is 10,100, so he's really hard to fit in, but maybe you can make it work. And yeah, I'm really starting to love Tyreek Hill. Freedman, you got me on him initially, and Deontay Hall, Pro Bowl MVP. I mean, Tyreek Hill. I mean, he just sets up so well here. So $1,900. He's another guy I'm looking to potentially lock in.
We finally found a price where Tyreek Hill makes sense.
Oh my gosh, Levitan. You know how lucky you got at the end of that.
It's not lucky. That's part of it. Alex
Dude, he was wide open
that's part of it.
so many times.
Alex Smith not seeing a guy 30 yards down the field is one of the reasons that Tyreek Hill is not a good play.
Yeah,
I'm not going to. Alex, if Tyreek Hill had Tom Brady, maybe I'd be more interested.
Well, but in this game, he will have quarterbacks who are fine with throwing the ball downfield.
He's 1,900. I'm not disagreeing. He's pretty. I mean, looks like an awesome play.
Yeah, I have no idea who else on the Pro Bowl though. You could make an argument for someone, and I'd be like, I guess that makes sense. I don't know.
No, I think there is data out there like that. Tight ends historically do really well in the Pro Bowl, and given the tight ends in the Super Bowl, I mean, Martellus Bennett 2 weeks off. I think there's something to be said for him playing like literally on one leg for the last month or two. Maybe he'll be a little bit healthier, but he would still scare me a bit at 4,900. And then Austin Hooper obviously doesn't have a very big role for the Falcons. So I think rostering one or two, taking a shot on one or two tight ends in the Pro Bowl could make some sense. Kelsey, Olsen, Jimmy Graham, Delaney, one of those guys there.
Yeah, I like that. They're cheaper than they should be, and I think they will be less likely to stay in and pass block. Or,
They're not blocking, period. Yeah,
exactly. So I like that idea. Bales?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I also think it's relevant that, it's a 2-game slate, and if you're playing on DK and can swap, it probably makes sense to have some Pro Bowl guys in there just for that reason, because you have more information. So if you completely or even mostly stack the Super Bowl, you just need to wait, and you can't swap. Whereas if you go with the Pro Bowl, it's just a huge advantage. So if half of your lineup is in the Pro Bowl and you crush it, like you just hit the nuts, then you can play complete chalk in the Super Bowl, and vice versa. So I think that's a reason to be on some Pro Bowl guys more. I think that the tight end point is really good as well.
Yeah, I like that. In terms of, so no one mentioned really Falcons. Pete, you mentioned potentially going up to Matt Ryan, but no one mentioned the idea of really wanting to be on the Falcons. What are your thoughts on those guys? Pete, let's go to you.
Sorry, I was struggling to get the mute off there. I do think the Falcons are really interesting. I mean, the guys that I like right now, I like Sanu. I think Gabriel could be a really intriguing play. Definitely like the running backs. On FanDuel, I do think they make a little bit more sense. Freeman is so expensive. I have Tevin Coleman in right now, but we'll see what happens there. I do think that they make sense. It's just the pricing is really hard. Julio Jones is just so expensive on both sites. So we'll see. I do like Matt Ryan. I'm more on FanDuel where he's cheaper, so I think that's probably my plan is play him on FanDuel, Brady on DraftKings, because you're getting the cheaper of the two on both sites. So that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point, but certainly am open to suggestions. The other guy, I guess, who is intriguing to a degree, even though it goes against what we just talked about with the tight end, is Hooper's really cheap on DraftKings. So I could see an argument for playing him. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge trying to figure out roster construction here.
So, any thoughts on stacks? And I know this seems like the dumbest question ever because you're like, you can really only stack one game, but like maybe there's the possibility of successfully stacking a Pro Bowl game, although that just seems kind of random. But any thoughts there on what you were looking to stack?
I don't think they're like – I would love to see historical data on do quarterbacks in the Pro Bowl throw to their own receivers. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure who we have here in this game. We have Alex Smith and Ty Fluke, right? Do we have anybody else? Is Dak Dez? I believe Dez made the Pro Bowl, right? Yeah, he did. So, yeah, Dak Dez. So, I mean, stuff like that. That's just, me without doing any research, I would think that maybe quarterbacks throw to their own receivers. So maybe Dak Dez and maybe Alex Smith and Ty Fluke.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any. We're gonna have to do some more historical Pro Bowl. I mean, I don't think I've played these slates much in the past, but somehow I'm involved in it this week.
I'm sure there's some correlation. You can look at, like, we know who's going to start, right? And we know who's going to come in late. There's some correlation there with who's going to be on the field together. You can predict that somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
And probably that's a huge edge, actually.
Yeah.
No one's going to do that.
What about in the Super Bowl in terms of the stacks there? What are you thinking, Bales?
In any of these short slates, I just like to completely stack a game or a two-game slate, a team where it seems like it's overkill, but it's actually not. So I would be fine with going all in on a team. I do like the Patriots. I think that they're set up really well for the Falcons aren't necessarily that bad on defense, and I think it gets exposed a little bit, or it just looks worse because of the offense. But the Patriots are probably set up pretty well to attack them over the middle of the field with Deion Lewis, Edelman over the middle of the field. So I like Brady, like Peter said. I think a lot more than Matt Ryan, especially with people being on the Falcons so much, and just seems like they're unstoppable. I like the idea of just like fully stacking the Patriots or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Pete, any stacks that you're hot on right now?
They just named them. I think the best stacks is like Brady, Edelman, Deion Lewis, probably. Definitely don't hate Matt Ryan to like Sanu and Gabriel either, or Tevin Coleman. But yeah, all the stacks are in the Super Bowl. And then I think it's really just finding the pieces. And I guess the double dip that we love is Tyreek Hill and the AFC defense. And hopefully they can get enough points on special teams and some sort of turnovers to mitigate the, like 35 points they're expected to give up. I was actually just looking. Have you guys seen a line on this Pro Bowl yet?
No.
What is it?
I'm looking for it. I mean, I'm trying to find it. I'm scavenging I'm looking all over. Like my main sources don't have any information on it. So
it's off the board right now.
It's fantastic. Levitan, any thoughts on stacks?
Yeah, so if you buy into the narrative, which I'm not sure we should or not, but if you buy into the narrative that, Bill Belichick has 2 weeks to prepare and will take out Atlanta's best weapon, I think that's pretty clear. That's Julio Jones, right? If you buy into that and if you think he can be effective, like Pete said, I think Ryan to Gabriel, Ryan to Sanu, Ryan to Tevin Coleman, Ryan to Freeman, all that stuff would be in play for me. And I mean, I think you have to take a stand. Like even Peter doesn't, like the king of hedge life, even Peter doesn't do hedge life in 2-game slates, I believe. So I think if you want to take a stand and be like, hey, listen, I'm not playing Julio on this slate, like I think that's totally fine. If he burns you, he burns you.
Yeah, in 2-game slates, I try really hard not to hedge because, there's a lot of arguments that you shouldn't be hedging in general. And I certainly understand there's one optimal lineup. But in football, one thing to kind of mitigate injuries historically has been to make some hedges if they're really, really close in projections. And for these slates, I really try not to do that just because you're ultimately donating to the fees. So especially here on the Pro Bowl slate, you got to make some stands.
All right. Well, speaking of making stands, let's get to the bold calls. And Pete, since you're such a bold guy who's looking to make some stands, let's do it here. Give us bold calls, one for a game and one for a player.
I'll say the Falcons win as a bold call, and I'll say Deion Lewis. I guess I can't. Those aren't correlated enough. I'll say Falcons win, and Tevin Coleman's the MVP is a bold call. And yeah, in terms of the Pro Bowl, I really don't have anything other than Tyreek Hill and the defense doing well. That's it.
Levitan.
DFS, I'll say Taylor Gabriel finds his way over 100 yards. And real life, I'll say that the AFC wins by more than 30. 20. 15. AFC.
There you go.
AFC
You're progressively less bold.
They lose.
Yeah, I think we just heard you pick NFC.
God, I have no idea. I don't have a real
AFC wins by 30, 20, 15. Actually, screw it. NFC wins.
I don't think anything you can say about this Super Bowl is that bold. Like, I think, unless you're predicting like a total blowout or a really low scoring game, like I don't think it'd be that bold. You know what I mean? I mean, it's hard to see a blowout here, right?
I mean, it could happen, but it seems like it's going to be close. And I think the game is going to settle around Patriots, -3 or Falcons +3. I think that's going to be pretty, that's where it's going to stay. So that definitely indicates it should be pretty close.
All right, Bales, let's get some boldness from you.
I'll go, I guess for the game, I'll go that it goes way over the total. It's like 58.5 or 59 now.
I think it's 59.
Say it goes over 70. And I'll go Sanu over 150 yards. That's my bold call. I like Sanu. The other guys mentioned him. I think he's the guy that's going to – I actually do buy into that the Patriots narrative. I think that playing guys against them is the most predictable of any matchup type of thing based on game plan that I've seen. I do believe that is the case, that you can predict what they're going to do pretty well defensively. And that's very clearly in this case to take out Julio.
Mm-hmm. All right, that makes sense. Let's get to the skill game prop section of the show, and let's review the standings. Levitan is 119, 115. He wasn't on the show last week, so it was one of his better weeks. Peter had a great performance last week at 12-4.
Wow! All right,
all the Falcons enthusiasm.
I wasn't there. That's an asterisk.
Yeah, I needed that. I needed Levitan not to be there. That's a theme going forward.
All right. Well, so you're 147 and 153. So you're just one good week away from finishing above 500. So Levitan can be here to stop you. I am a lean and mean 95 and 77. Although I will say, to be fair to myself, which I'm always fair to myself. Over the second half of the season, I have really picked up the volume. So I know it looks like I haven't played all that much, but second half of the season, I've been close to you guys in volume. So just
wait, give us the total number of prop things that you got in versus Levitan and I. Let's hear the numbers again one more time.
95 and 77. And then you are 147, 153. Levitan is 119, 115.
So you barely cracked half the volume that I did. 172 versus 300.
Yeah,
just
well, you're
it out there.
You're prolific.
Hey, I'm just trying to facilitate, be a good host, trying to get some action going, Freedman.
Yeah, well, Bales is 1-3, so maybe he's really the guy that we should be focusing on in terms of volume.
Yeah.
I'm 1-3. Is that real?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So you've really got to step it up. I think the big point is that in the first week of the season, like, it was normal that someone was at 1-3, and then now, like, people are like putting like 20 prop bets out there per show. So as a show, we've really improved in our degeneracy. But
Tie Freak let me down. That was all I needed to beat Levitan was an epic Tie Freak game, because I went like 0-13 on Tie Freak.
It was
he let me down.
It was bad. All right, so Pete, let's get started. Do you just want to put a Tie Freak?
Sure, Tie Freak versus all these receivers in the Pro Bowl. Take them all, Levitan. Go ahead.
All right, let's see what we can do here. I'll take. You want to give me Doug Baldwin?
Hey, give me Tyreek Hill and Beckham. Let me just go all in on the guys that Levitan hates.
I mean, there's not that many other receivers. Like
Just name them all. How about that? That'll be the
You
prop.
get
I get
Fields.
Tyreek and Beckham. You get everyone else versus those guys. We'll just
Okay,
go
that's
one
fine.
by
I'll take that one.
I'll take the
Everyone else in the Pro Bowl,
Yeah.
wide receiver.
all wide receivers. So you're taking.
I'm giving up a shit ton of equity. I don't care. I'm just going to hope that Tyreek and Beckham just crush Adam Soul. That's my only goal.
Okay, and so this is for highest score.
You know what the thing is about
I'll take
Beckham?
that.
Like, he's such a dork and cares so much about like his image. He might actually try in this game. Like, he might actually try to win MVP because he wants everybody to see how good he is. You know what I
Give me
mean?
the two fast guys, the guy that can take the 70-yard slant and the guy that can score a touchdown on any play. I like that.
I'll take Jimmy Graham or Travis Kelce over a half a touchdown.
Sure, done.
For
Feels
both
bad.
of those, Pete, for both of them.
They just need one of them needs to score.
No, I'll take it on each of them. I think
I'll take that.
Yeah, I want to be over on half.
You want the under, Bales?
I want they both need to score.
No, not they
One
both
bet.
need to score. Just
Oh.
separate bets.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I would take both.
Yeah, I'm taking the under on that.
All right, so I have over on Kelce over a half touchdown, over on Graham a half touchdown.
Although, so
Recent data does show Kyle Rudolph and Michael Bennett are two of them. Or I guess that's Michael Bennett, not Martellus.
Yeah.
All right. That makes
so I'm taking the under on that, but I do think the strong play, but I can definitely see going tight ends here in the Pro Bowl instead of the Super Bowl. I mean, if for no other reason, then you don't want Martellus Bennett, but you also don't want Hooper. You're never going to get Kelce as cheap as he is here again. I mean, who knows how many snaps he's going to play, but he's probably going to play at least half of the game. So anyway, all right. What about quarterbacks? I'd be interested to see what some of the Pro Bowl props would be here for some of these guys.
I don't even know who's starting. I don't think they even announced who's starting, did they? Like, it's not like the NBA where like there's just designated starters. I think it's just like whoever shows up that day is like, hey, you can start.
I think it's Breeze.
I think they announced starters.
Did they? Let me see.
Yeah.
Let's stick to the Super Bowl. Let's get out the Pro Bowl. We're all just absolute donkeys. Let's just stick.
All right.
I mean, it's bad. We don't even know who's starting.
They did announce starters, yeah.
Well, then tell us who's starting.
On NFL.com it says Brady is, but I have a feeling that he's not going to be in it.
All right, that's fantastic. Okay, Pete, do you have any ideas for quarterback props?
Yeah, I mean, I let's just take some Brady versus Ryan here. Who wants Brady? Who wants Ryan? I'll take. I'll go Ryan just to say I'll get it going. I'll take Ryan over Brady.
Just fantasy points.
Yeah, fantasy points.
Yeah, DK.
Yeah, I'll take Brady. I don't know that that's right, but it's close.
Yeah. I'll take Ryan. I think, like, I don't remember who said it, and I'm not the first one to say it, but, like, this offense is just so dynamic, like, almost like the Warriors, where you don't know how they're going to score. You know, it's just, like, take Matt Ryan and worry about everything else later has been a really good strategy. So Matt Ryan's been really good to me. I'm going to I'll be on Ryan.
I don't feel strongly about it either way, but I'll go with Brady. So we have 2v2 here.
Perfect.
You know what? Here, I'm going to
I'll
take
take Deion Lewis versus White and Blunt. Just whoever's the highest scoring. So if you want Blunt and White versus Lewis, I'll do that.
I'll take Blunt and White.
I think.
I'll take Lewis against that.
What side do you want, Levitan?
I think, I mean, if I was making a roster, I'd for sure play Lewis, but given the uncertainty of it all, I'll take the two guys. I'll take Blunt and.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, that's a good one.
2v2. Do we have has anyone actually looked up to see who is starting in the Pro Bowl? Because I think I would take Breeze over I'll take Breeze over Yes. Okay, I will take Breeze and Dak over the field if you guys want to take the other side.
I'll
Sure.
take the field.
I'll take the field.
Okay. Levitan, you want to DJ up on that?
Yeah, field is fine. I'm looking. Sorry.
He got Nice. Yeah, the Pro Bowl stuff is just so hard. I mean, just look for some more data closer.
I keep looking for starters, and it's giving me like pop-ups and everything. I can't find accurate starters. Like, if you have accurate starters, please tweet them at me.
I'll go to Super Bowl total over the Pro Bowl total, but I want 3-1.
3-1.
You want 18 Coors Lights, buddy? Only if you agree to drink them all in one sitting.
I'll take 2-1 on
it. Sure, done.
Quickly on the racquetball, Pete. What is your movement like? Because
my movement's not good. I played yesterday. My movement's not good, but my confidence level is high.
Levitan, important data point. I went to the gym and played with my friend who is actually like pretty good. And the movement maybe not as big as you might think if they're really accurate.
Right. Yeah.
Just I got crushed, and he also had an injury and couldn't move.
Levitan, don't worry. I will reciprocate the generosity that you gave in the racquetball.
Like, can you hit serves for aces?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
I beat Bass yesterday. We played 2 games. Steve's a professional tennis player, and it's getting better. But I'm supposed to be. I have another connection for racquetball who used to play in the NFL. I'm not going to drop any names, but I'm going to hopefully be able to play with him soon too. So, trying to settle up the racquetball game.
I mean, I don't want to. I hope this doesn't happen, but I feel like unless Peter like re-ruptures his Achilles, we're drawing pretty thin on the racquetball.
You're drawing thin. I'm getting points.
But you got to respect Levitan. Just comes in so strong. We're doing it blind. I love that.
That's fine. Let's do it.
And like I said though beforehand, just to finalize it here, I will reciprocate the generosity. If it's really one side, we'll find something else where you have the edge, Adam.
Yeah. I want the left-handed tennis thing.
Oh yeah. That's not a good side for you, I don't think.
What? Really?
Not against him, against his professional friend. But
still.
Yeah. I mean, you're in big trouble over.
What about him playing with like a frying pan or something? Could he beat him?
I would take. I'd probably take Bass with the frying pan.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Okay, so any final props on wide receivers?
No.
All right. Any props on the action happening at the Labs retreat, or is that already all taken place?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a bunch of everybody from the company is going, right? I mean, if anybody from the company would like to bet on Bales, get at me.
All right. So I think we're going to lock it up there. Bales, thanks for being on the show. Big thanks to Levitan and Peter for being the mainstays of the podcast throughout the season. It was a fun show to do with you guys. Also, big thanks to the guests. We had a lot of fantastic guests this year, even though they went 113 and 29 in the skill game props. That's why we love them. And then, Pete, you had something you wanted to say there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Freedman, all jokes aside, I give you a bunch of crap for not getting the volume in on the skill game props, but you did an A+ job, got great guests all year, had so much fun, and you really were the GOAT host. Tons of people made that comment on Twitter. So really looking forward to running it back next year, and certainly it was a lot of fun. Levitan, I'm coming for you. I definitely owe you some drinks when we get to Orlando, bud.
I'm not. I'm off alcohol until the. I'm off all alcohol and substances until the bets are over.
What a man! That is just.
I'm completely dead.
I'm going to shoot here in an hour, so we'll be chatting soon, buddy.
All right. Well, that's and I just realized we didn't get any Oscar props in, but something to shoot for next year in our wrap-up show. But anyway, for Jonathan Bales, Adam Levitan, and Peter Jennings on Twitter at Bales Football, Adam Levitan, and CSU Ram 88, I'm Matthew Freedman, Matt F. the Oracle, and this has been the Daily Fantasy Flex podcast for the NFL Bowl Game slate. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck, and we will see you next season.